Okay, let's do it. VPC by Michał Boczyk.
Okay, okay, great. So I didn't make a presentation because in VPC there's a lot of things and it would be hard to read this. So I put some notes for this, and feel free later to add your own if you find anything. I think it would be better this way, like Sebastian had prepared his presentation to make notes in docs for this. Okay, so basically VPC is like your own networking data center, just without physical devices. You just get everything made in AWS console or in CloudFormation. This is from 4 years ago. I think there wasn't 4 years ago there wasn't any. You couldn't launch an EC2. Okay, so one more time. 4 years ago, you could launch EC2, RDS, etc., without specifying your own VPC. But from there, you have to launch your resources into VPC. So right now, you need to create or use the default VPC for these procedures. Basically, when you're creating VPC without any modifications, it's really simple. You just need a seeder block and specify one subnet, and I think this is all. But things get more complicated later. The first paragraph, these are just, this to summarize basically what it is, that it's isolating network, and this is all. Okay. Subnets. This is the crucial thing of every VPC, and like everything with AWS, you have a lot of restrictions, etc. So you can have two subnets that have the same seeders in seeder blocks in one VPC. One thing to remember that when you specify subnet, the 5 addresses from it will always get reserved by AWS for their purposes. So, like in case of public IPs, you can't reserve them, assign them to EC2 or anything like that. But private addresses you can assign to EC2s, etc. So you need to be reminded that you can't get with 4 first addresses from every subnet and the last one. Basically, this is how it works with VPC.
Small side note from me regarding the exam. So I remember that there was a question about how many addresses you cannot use and how many of them are reserved by AWS, and that numbers are different. So you cannot use 5 IP addresses, but only 3 are reserved by AWS. So you cannot use 0 and 255 in any network, if I recall correctly. So there was a difference between those two. Exactly, the difference in the question.
But that's very tricky bullshit. Like, you know,
it's not really a bullshit if you try to analyze that, because you cannot actually have 0 and 255 in the network at all.
But for me, I would just say this is like the binded, address. This is like the network address.
Yeah, it's not important. You always lose 5 addresses, no matter what. Right? You always lose the last one and reset one. So it doesn't change anything.
Okay.
From the operator point of view, no need to know where they go.
But the good insight, yeah. We look for more tips.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so next thing, when you create subnet, you automatically get assigned route table. How they work, I will explain later. But basically, they are targeted. Okay, maybe we can get there. This is basically a set of rules that are determining where the network traffic is directed, and basically this is it. And if you don't specify your route table, you would get the default one, and in most cases is the main one, from what I remember correctly. Okay, and next thing. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Okay, every sub
question. So there's only one IP address for DNS server. There's no like two addresses.
will be from those reserved, yes. Yeah. This is from AWS documentation, and this is how it looks like. But from what I know, you can specify your own. If you are messing with DHCP, domain host, I don't remember the shortcut, but basically you can specify your own in VPC. But this is not. This should be checked because I'm not sure if this is correct what I'm saying right now.
I'm just wondering like why there is a reserved DNS address and every VPC like are you obliged to use this, or like what you said?
You're not using it; it's used by default. It's most likely.
Okay, and this is.
There's a lot of things in AWS that you have no control over. This is like it is, and
okay.
That's it.
But does it mean that there is a DNS server? So let's say I create a subnet and I do a DNS, UDP packet DNS under this 02 address. Doesn't is there a DNS server out of the box that will reply to me?
I think yes. That when you create VPC, you get configured. No, wait, check. Maybe you can add something here because I don't remember exactly how it works with this.
If I recall correctly, they are handling all host names allocations, local allocations by themselves. That's why they are reserving this two address for it. And one more thing is that this is the one which is reserved per subnet, because you will have different different local different host names per subnet. So you will have the US East 1A, for example, in the host name. That's why they are reserving it per subnet, and they are handling local DNS resolutions by themselves. And there are two notions of the Route 53, which is the external one, and the internal one, which is provided as a private DNS, for example. Yeah, so this IP -- EC2, whatever, is provided on their behalf, but you have control how the host name, fully qualified domain name looks like via hosted zones. So you can create external hosted zones and private hosted zones in Route 53.
Okay, but aside from Route 53, it makes sense. This is like the DNS server that allows for the EC2 host to have these IP names and to be reachable by these names instead of just pure IP addresses.
If you want, you can change this behavior also. There is a DHCP option set in VPC. You can specify your own DNS server, apply your domain, so you wouldn't get those EU West 1 internal or EU West 1 whatever the rest of this is. So this may be also related to that.
Okay, cool.
Actually, Michal, what was your question? So, are you afraid of that you will not be able to allocate something, or?
No, just I was like, what I'm comparing, like, I'm new to VPC, so I had previous experience with like creating VLANs on, some switches and then routers, and like when you were creating a VLAN or subnet, you were not like thinking about DNS server, so I was just wondering, like, why, DNS server?
Yeah. So from that perspective, it's VPC is a network setup, so there's no host names and DNSs and so on and so on. However, out of the box, you are receiving private DNSs and sometimes public DNSs provided by Amazon, right? If you've got, for example, public subnet, and you can assign automatically a public address. So in that case, they are providing a bridge between Route 53 and VPC. That's my understanding. And that's the reason why they are reserving this particular address for it, because they need it in the future. They may need it in the future.
Makes sense.
Okay, something else, or are we going next? Okay. All subnets have property. This in CloudFormation. This is called map public IP on launch. I don't know how you can specify it in AWS console, but I guess you will get it when you create subnet. Basically, what this is, if you launch EC2, you will get automatically IP. By default, it's false, but in default VPC, which we'll discuss later, you will always get, when you launch EC2, you will always get public IP on launch. This is how it works. Okay, public subnets. In order to have public subnets, you need to specify an internet gateway there and associate route table, configure and associate route table with this internet gateway. And another thing to know is that if you don't specify this previous parameter map public IP on launch, then you need to attach by yourself network interface with public IP or elastic IP with this EC2. If you don't specify, there is no public IP, you do not have access to the internet from this public subnet.
So what does it mean, public subnet?
Public subnet means that you can access those machines from the outside world, and the subnet is configured, so it is possible.
But this is not like that I have like a range of public addresses, right? It's like that there is not gateway. So I can have like a subnet of like public IPs.
I believe so.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're receiving a subset of this huge class that Amazon reserved for the public.
Yes.
By default behavior in default VPC.
That's why you cannot actually spawn more than 20 machines in a VPC without filling a form, because you will be able to actually create all addresses.
Okay, so this is interesting. But like,
I think it's easy start for anybody. Like, you log into cloud, make a machine, you can SSH to it. If it won't be in the other way, people would complain. I created a box, how can I get there? And you need to click there and there and configure route table. Everybody will know that. And
understand that. So if I'm creating an EC2, then it goes to some kind of default VPC. Is the VPC created in this? What happens?
If you don't specify the VPC for EC2, you will get default VPC. And it does not mean that default VPC, if you didn't mess with default VPC, you will get public IP for this EC2.
that's the default behavior. But if you go and create your own VPC
and specify this VPC that you want launch there.
So if you make the VPC non-public, you won't be able to connect to the EC2, right?
It's not like VPC is public or not. The subnets in VPC, you can specify that this behaves like public, this behaves like private, or like this way.
VPC is just like logical group, rather than actual
It's a
network.
container, I think,
Yeah.
it's more or less something like that. And what you put in there, it specifies how it behaves.
And if you remove the default VPC,
Then you need to contact AWS support if you want another. This is.
restore it. Yeah.
No, from my perspective, it's better not to mess with default VPC because you never know. Maybe it will be useful later, but don't use it if you don't need to because it's how it's configured. You can modify it whenever you like the default VPC, but still better create your own. You will know how it works more or less. Okay, private subnet. Basically, you do not have route table to internet gateway. This is private subnet. You will not get public. I think you even can assign public IP, but it doesn't matter because there is no way to locate the access from outside. So what do? We make NAT instance or NAT gateway for this. NAT gateway is AWS resource that you can launch into your subnet, and you launch this into the public subnet, and there you need to configure route tables and routes from private subnet to NAT gateway, and the same for NAT instance, and then route this traffic from NAT gateway to the outside world. Basically, this is how it works. Below is a link to comparison NAT gateway, NAT instance. We'll not go into that, but basically NAT gateways are working for us right now. There's not much you need to configure there. You just launch it and it's working. So this is kind of good.
So how does it do the routing? This is like, how does it do the translation? Like, there is no access to from the outside world, but you can specify like some kind of ports. Is there any way of configuration? Or like,
No, if you don't want this, you just create a box in public somewhere. No, or hide it behind load balancer.
yeah, load balancer, okay. The load balancer.
This is the
only to get, for example,
updates.
packages from public repositories.
Yes,
To go outside.
to make connection from private to the outside. This is.
So I'm wondering, like, how do I reach the host? Like, how do I SSH? Maybe I missed something.
We use passive host, jump hosts. You specify this in public subnet, where you can access passive hosts, and then you can SSH to the machines in the private subnets from
First you
these
go
passive
to public box, and from public box to private
Yeah,
box.
so it has the
Or-
network interfaces.
Or we can view VPN somehow.
Yes, this
Like we
is
do.
also, but I don't know much about that. But still, this
Yeah,
is
well,
also,
it's somehow like,
you need to because you are doing.
you're not using jump hosts. So you can put your
Or you can have a VPN, like we have in or bridges between the networks.
Guys over the phone, do you actually hear what we are discussing here? Because Wojtek Paweł just said the same thing.
No, I barely hear Pavel actually. That's the thing.
I'll try to speak louder.
Yes, and if you don't hear it, just tell us.
Shout.
Okay, so this is it, or any more questions about private subnets? Because still, this is something that you need to do by yourself, and you don't pay actually for VPC per se, I think. So I think everyone can safely experiment with it and to check how it works.
Can you highlight the difference between NAT instance and NAT gateway?
You don't need to manage it. This is the main.
Which one?
That instance is this is the creation of your own. Basically, you have AMIs prepared from AWS or from community that you can use Of course, you need some configuration for this, but most of the stuff is prepared for you out of the box there. But still, this is something that you need to take care of, like auto-scaling groups. Like if your NAT instance died, then what now? You don't have access to the internet from a private subnet. You need to take care of that. So you need to create auto-scaling groups, etc. for them. So this is a little pain. You need to manage it. And for NAT gateway, you don't need to. AWS is making it for you. Still, you lose control, of course, for some of the things, but
So this is like something that they introduced to simplify it, or?
yes, because this was the common problem for all of the people. They wanted to hide things in private subnets, and you also have limits to elastic IPs, etc. So you can't launch everything in public subnets and secure there however you like. You need to launch it into private subnets, and you need to somehow access the internet, etc., and access those instances.
And there's one more thing regarding this public versus private addresses. And actually, I've reminded myself that you've asked about this public ranges. There's small difference between having an elastic IP and the public address, because if you will terminate an instance, you will receive a new public IP address. So that instance is not having a persistent IP. So you will be not able to reach it out with the same IP. You know what I mean? Imagine that you've got the web server 001 and it has a public address. However, if you will terminate it and spin it again as a web server 001, it will have a different public IP address. So you will not be able to SSH with the same IP as you previously did. And that's why you need elastic IPs, and that's why they are limiting elastic IPs as well.
Okay. Okay, so we can go further. Route tables, as I've said previously, just those that determine where network traffic is directed. Each subnet must be associated with route table. By default, if you don't specify, you will get the default route table, which probably is the main route table, unless you specify it otherwise. And basically, you can associate multiple subnets with the same route table, but one subnet can only have one route table at a time. And one more important thing that is highlighted everywhere, that you cannot delete main route table. This is basically how it looks like. This is, for example, your VPC seeder, and whenever you are trying to target the destination of yours in this seeder, the target would be in this VPC. And for this, if you're targeting any other address, you will get to internet gateway. This is ID of the internet gateway here.
This should be the address.
In target, you can't specify it like that. From what I know, you can only, here you are making seed blocks, and here you are specifying resources like subnets for VPC peering, etc. Not actual seed blocks or any IPs.
But the route table.
Okay, well, it's not a real,
Interfaces,
yeah, but it's not real route table. AWS.
But I'm just wondering, like, because what I would expect to see in the real route table is actually the interface, right? So
And there is one. So depending on the interface is not the thing that you are considering as the interface on the EC2 instance. It's more the interface for the VPC, for example, like in this example, internet gateway.
Okay,
So you're
so
talking more about Ethernet 1, Ethernet 0, right?
yeah,
I've seen it somewhere, but it's simplified. You need to care about this as much.
and this is the route table of what? Of the router or the the hosts that are in the, because I don't get it.
VPC router, I guess.
No, but because seriously, like you have the network, right? And each, like correct me if I'm wrong, like it's been a while since I touched it, but like every participant of the network, every host has a route table, right? Your computer has a route table.
Yeah, for this.
So you should actually consider this route table as a main switch level route table, not the host route table.
So VPC router, subnet
I
router.
wouldn't say switch, but a router. Okay. But this is the router that can either like ping the packets back to the subnetwork or push it through the internet gateway. There is some kind of interface.
Every interface is connected to that router. That's how I imagine.
Yeah.
It's mutual cable between this and your EC2 interfaces.
Still to have this is simple for you. The configuration of this routers, etc. It's really simple. So I don't think we should criticize it right now. This is really idiot-proof in every way. I'm trying to basically right now. I'm trying to understand what is this internet gateway from like traditional network point of view.
It's nothing. Cool.
But okay, I don't want to dwell into this. So,
Could you repeat that last one?
sorry,
Could you repeat the last one, the last sentence you said?
I'm wondering what is the internet gateway? Is it the like from the like traditional networking point of view? Is this an interface? Is this some kind of router host?
You should. Okay, so there are two levels. From the classic networking level, it's an interface,
Mhm.
but it's managed service that is a machine that exposes blah 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 and so on.
okay, okay. So this maybe, if you want to imagine it, it's more like that. This is from AWS. This is your router. This is internet gateway. As Wojciech said, this is more like a service machine. This internet
Like
gateway.
router or something.
Okay, so let's say this is like a router with the cable and the interface that is plugged into the router. Okay, now I understand it. Thank you. Okay, I think we've covered most of the default VPC, but the main thing, okay, each region has default VPC. These are the default settings for every VPC, default VPC and subnet. Basically, what is good from AWS about this, if they spawn a new AZ in your region, you get automatically subnet in this region created for your default VPC. What I've told before that your default subnet is public subnets, and when you launch EC2 there, you will get public IPs. You can modify whatever you like, however you like your VPC. But still, I don't think this is a good idea. As we said before, if you destroy your VPC, you need default VPC, you need to contact AWS support. So better not to. Okay, this one we've covered. VPC peering. Okay, this is basically connection between two VPCs. The VPC can also be in another account. This is more like one-to-one relationship, you can specify VPC to VPC and VPCP to two connections to VPCA. From what I get from the documentation, I've never done this, so okay.
Make sure by another account, can I use my account and your account and peer our VPCs?
Yes. The one main restriction is that we can't have overlapping IPs or either IP4 or IPv6. We can't have that if you want VPC peering enabled. We just, there is a graph later with VPC peering connection lifecycle I will show later.
How we can overlap IPv6? I thought that there is no way because like the hardware address is embedded.
This is something that I took from AWS documentation, so I think it happened. It happened probably, or this is just their restriction. But the main thing that is important in IP4 can be.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not an expert, but in private IPv6 networks, there is no restriction for setting up existing or non-existing addresses. So you can have NAT, which is IPv6 and reuses the addresses.
But I thought that, okay, maybe, yeah, let's not off topic into IPv6.
We need to ask Alex Kinsher, I suppose.
Yeah, that's breaking in.
Okay, if you want a need to IPv6, you need to enable configure route tables, etc. all by yourself. This is not automatic. Here you will get, I think, 5 pages of text about all those VPCs, so feel free to read them later. This is something that was highlighted from AWS in the AWS documentation, how you can connect. I don't think you need to go too much to details with this. Basically, you initiate a request to another VPC. It's either your account or account of another person. And these are all next stages of your life cycle. I think we don't need to go too much details about it, or any questions about that. Just you initiate a request and someone needs to accept it, basically.
So this is not automatically managed?
No.
Do you need to write an essay explaining why? Or just this is like the form?
Probably you need to. Okay. Security groups. This.
One more question. Sorry for being an ass. So, if they have like, why these procedure? Like, is there a reason why?
There needs to be some control over why you can
reject it.
I think there need to be some control over the VPC peering connection, because if not, it would be easier for someone to get to your VPC if there wasn't more.
I connect my VPC to Mihal's VPC.
Our VPCs have global IDs, unique IDs, so you could get to another VPC without this life cycle easier. So I think this is the reason why this is so complicated or whatever.
So security. Got it.
Okay, security groups. I think this topic needs another session, but we'll cover it very briefly.
Actually, we're a little bit out of time, so if that's something we can move it to the next presentation that you could give us.
Okay, we can do that. No, because security groups and knuckles. This is a very important part of, but this is a very important part of AWS.
We have I am, but this is not actually related, right?
Right, but without this, we can do nothing, basically in AWS. So, okay, we can move it to another session.
No hands on keyboard.
Okay. Summary, Michał?
Summary. Okay,
Profit question.
no, I don't know. You need to have another questions. So something wasn't clear, or the form of the presentation wasn't good, because I think it's better to have this as notes, because we can add this here. Something if we need to, that will be available for everyone.
Thumbs up for notes for me. Guys over the phone, final remarks, comments, questions?
Nope, from me. It's a very broad topic, so I'm not surprised that we will split it.
And still, this is not whole VPC. This is just a surface, I think, because there is still a lot of things that you can do with it.
Yeah, and for example, this VPC peering is also extensively covered in the exam, as well as direct connect and so on and so on.
Yeah,
So there's plenty of it.
Yeah, this was just things that you mainly use when you use VPC, but still there's a lot of more. Okay, so
Okay,
that's it from me.
thank you, Michał. Next presentation. I need to go to the toilet. So like 2-3 minutes, guys. Anybody else wants to grab a cake?
Co ty przywiozłeś ten to?
Zajebisty.
Jest lodówca, siłkę.
Żeby żreć potem. Siądę bliżej mikrofonu. Wojtek, słyszysz mnie tu lepiej, jak tak mówię normalnie?
No, znacznie lepiej, znacznie lepiej.
Ciekawe, że to tak nie zbiera.
Jak siedzisz, gadasz do okna, no to co, nie słychać cię?
Nie do okna, do środka. Gdzie to jest dziura na mikrofon?
Jest tam Konrad?
Nie ma.
Szkoda, myślałem, że sobie ponarzekam na report.
Co musimy?
Czego kurwa znowu nie zrobili? Dzisiaj do mnie Rami pisze, czy można włączyć, żeby log kolektory mogły się schować na jakiś kurwa host w AOL Cloudzie, nie? Tak, bo on to już potrzebuje, nie? A ja mówię, ziomeczki, ale daliście nam listę takich hostów? Przecież to trzeba firewall whitelistować. A, nie wiedziałem. Teraz Rami mi pisze, że mają jakiś problem znowu z tymi hostname'ami, że w US East Coast się zjebało i że ten ich super komponent z manifestami się nie może połączyć. Wbijam na te hosty. Ja mówię, no ciekawe, że się nie może połączyć, nie? Hostname, który miał przypisane dana maszynka, nie pinguje się. Dwie maszynki, które się wyspawnowały z AMI, mają ten sam hostname wewnętrzny. Pewnie się w AMI zaszył. Teraz sprawdzam, czy to jest faktycznie ta sprawa. Podejrzewam, że wyspawnuję nową maszynkę i się okaże, że surprise, zaszyli kurwa hostname od razu.
Dobrze, w sumie. Jest chłopiec do bicia taki.
Gorzej, że nikt ich nie bije.
No John by ich głaskał.
Tak. Tak.
Wybracie takie cuda tycza?
A, powiedzmy, że nie. Nie będę zdradzał sekretu tego ciasta. To powiedzmy, że dziękuję. Okay.
thrown away. No to jest.
Panowie, trzeba było zimówki założyć i przyjechać.
W lodówce jest jeszcze pół. Może przetrwać.
Ja jeszcze nie zdążyłem zmienić sobie to nie. Ja bym miał cię też nie mam jeszcze, ale co tu przy czymś takim? Nie ma problemu.
To nie. To się nagrywa cały czas. Nie? Już mogli sprawdzić, czy cię obgadywaliśmy.
Nie, ja nie mam. Jaki ciągle sprawdzić.
Ups, nagrało się jak narzekam na reporting.
Ojej. Wydało się, że ich nie lubisz.
Wydało się.
Ja myślę, że się nic nie musiało wydawać.
Peter, how are you? Głupio się patrzy na siebie. How are you, Peter? Is there snow in Netherlands?
No, not in here, fortunately. But yeah, I don't feel envy when I'm looking on all those snowy pictures from other parts of Europe.
I thought that this weather is like all across Europe. This like I don't know how this is called, but like cold front coming.
Yeah.
But I think, do you have a snow in Holland?
No, not at all. It's like sunny, windy, rainy, everything else that snow.
It's not good. The orchard trees started to blossom.
Oh.
There would be frozen. Fruit will be more expensive. Yeah.
But I don't think they're like they don't blossom until May. I think like fully. And if there is like minus temperature in May, then there is a disaster.
Yeah, but some of them started already.
Cherry and almond and these kind of things. Okay, it would be a disaster for the tulip industry here, where they have blooming fields there.
Sebastian John.
Chyba.
Oli know here. He didn't listen.
Nie ma go na Slacku. Dawno.
Przejadę się zagonił.
Nie, coś tu możemy zacząć.
Proszę? Po co nas?
Innego. Wyznaczamy. Okay, so let's get started with the second presentation by Paweł, Lambda and API Gateway.
And a bit of static website hosting. As you can see, I'm from Presentation Church, not from Nodes, to hide the fact that not much to say. A bit of background, like I tried to create a simple blog with using these components together with S3 hosting to, I don't know, train my AWS skills so I can talk a bit about it, but definitely it's not deep knowledge. So Wojtek, if you can assist me with Lambdas, I will be thankful. Okay, so today, kids, we're gonna learn how to become hipster, IT hipster guy, and know what is serverless. And
Do you have your blog? Can you show us?
yeah, at the end I can show it. It's based on Jekyll. I use Lambda basically, as spoiler alert, for contact form. That's the only thing that is not static there. So to send me a notification, just invoke API call through the API gateway, then it pushes a message to SNS queue and then it goes to my email. So that's it. And Lambda also validates inputs and captcha there. So that's the whole story. and the static content is served through the S3. Okay, serverless. Hurry up because it's going to be mainstream, I believe. Even this Cloud Guru guy has some courses and becoming more and more popular, I think. So what is it? What is it? You just buy something like this and does it. It's very cheap, and you have your serverless hosting. But it's as serverless as medical healthcare. Yeah. Bring the buttons as public medical healthcare, which is free, but you pay for it, but indirectly. That is the case here too. So the fact of having servers hidden, like you pay for it, but you don't see it. Thanks to that, you can focus on the functionality. You don't care about scaling and updating security patches. No, nothing at all. Someone may say it's similar to platform as a service, but at least in case of Heroku, you see these dynos and you scale them. You see add another host, etc., etc. But here you just deploy the code. That's it. You don't see how many instances is running behind it, and no, nothing at all. Like you pay for requests and data transfers, and it's very, very cheap. It's like 20 cents per million requests. The Cloud Guru guy is boasting about that they don't pay for Lambda usage for their website.
Really? 20 cents per million requests?
Yeah.
It's only per request, not the computation time?
No. At least, I think it's not. Am I right, Wojtek? Because computation time is limited up to 5 minutes or something.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
you can't run it for 1 hour.
Yeah, exactly. Pavel is totally right. So you are paying for 1 million requests. It's like the SQS. So for SQS, you are also paying per million. And the amount is similar, so 20 cents per million requests.
Yeah, and the limit keeps you in a reasonable range. Because there's also a way to scale it a bit, like reserve more resources for Lambda, but it's not. Okay. So you focus on the code. No need to think about fault tolerance, anything like that. You just upload your code or click the button in the UI and that's it. And by default, it generates API gateway entry for your Lambda function if you want to test it. So that's not a problem. Yes. I don't know how new is it. Is it like 2 years from now? Like, am I right? Like no.
I don't remember, but I've seen it.
But it's not common thing on exam, or I don't. Did you have questions about it?
Just one. And Lambda is, I guess, 2016 or 2015 at most.
And it's not so widely used, I think. Okay, it's stateless thing, but just computation unit. You put code there, there's no way to store inside. You have no notion of the instance. You cannot store anything there. It's not permanent. Of course, the running instance can be reused, like when you have a kind of warm start, and the same instance of Lambda is handling many requests, but you shouldn't rely on that. And how to trigger Lambda? Can use API gateway, as I said, or any other events from SNS, S3 events like storing a file there. You can trigger some actions, storing DynamoDB, React some CloudWatch metrics or CloudFront caching validation, and IoT incognito, but I know nothing about it. I don't know what is it, to be honest. But you can create their threads. Okay, when it comes to limit, we have a limit of concurrent requests to Lambda. Don't know the number, but it's not like infinite scale. You cannot DDoS it. Lambda computation must complete within, it's like 5 minutes, right? Yeah. And you can lower this number. If you want an, I don't know, longer workflows, you either set up SQSQ and pass from one Lambda to another, or there is something like Amazon step functions, which is something similar to that. And you can click your workflow. You can beef your Lambda computation unit, but it's very strict. Like if you increase memory, you increase also CPU power. There's no freedom to move one parameter and keep the memory unchanged. You need to increase both. It's not like many of these options. But yeah, if the Lambda is more compute intensive, you can definitely increase it. As I said before, the running Lambda can be reused to pass extra, maybe access keys or things like that are kind of independent of code, or you don't want to store the credentials in the code. You can use environmental variables to pass additional params or spawn two Lambdas with different, use the same code but contact with different endpoints. It has good integration with CloudWatch metrics and logs, and this is the only insight you get. You are not able to, you're not able to inspect the machine or attach debugger. You can only look at the logs.
Question: what is the limit of the concurrent request? Like the limit of your Lambda code and the concurrent request that you're like what is the
coming from outside? I believe it's like you have 1,000 HTTP requests in parallel, so you cannot. For example, there's a limit of 500, so only 500 Lambdas will process them.
But what if I create like 5 Lambdas with the same code? Is that like? I wonder like why there's a limit of concurrent requests.
No idea.
There's a limit from single Lambda concurrent requests that are outgoing from single Lambda.
Okay, sorry.
It's not exactly specified in the docs actually, so they are limiting you by I/O, I guess. You cannot spawn too much I/O from a single Lambda.
Okay, that makes sense. But like incoming requests, this is not the limit for incoming requests.
No. So they are claiming to be infinitely scalable, which is not true actually, because in Frankfurt, for example, there is a poor support for Lambda, and I had issues with uploading new code, for example, in Frankfurt.
That's interesting. But Frankfurt data center is very small from what I've heard.
I'm missing the features. Even for my blog, I wanted to use simple image service, and I started to do everything in Frankfurt, and then I noticed that it's not available there. That's why I use SNS as a workaround, because SNS can also send emails. No cloud formations, fuck it, I will use SNS. If I had cloud formation, it would be much brighter. Sorry for the mistake. Not reading the docs carefully. And there's something like Lambda at edge. That sounds scary, but AWS has edge location. Are you familiar with it? Like this small data center for content delivery network. And you can put Lambda there. So for every CDN request, you can, for example, decide which content to serve based on origin, just simple functions, or who to ask about refresh of the cache. That's how I understand it. and sadly it's only Node.js available there. That when you select the runtime, there is Edge Node.js. At first I thought it is like Edge version of Node.js. What a fun, but no, it's about Lambda at Edge.
What is? Yeah. Okay.
Huh?
No, because I understood that you can only use Node.js for Lambdas.
For Lambdas at Edge, for this Edge locations,
Okay.
only Node.js. But for classic, let's call it like marketplace, for classic part, you have a Python, Java, C#, and Node.js. And Node.js is promoted, like most of the documentation is written for Node.js. And even API gateway is designed to work well with Node.js. That was my opinion. I tried to use Python and I had some pitfalls there.
And there are plenty of issues with, for example, Java or .NET environment, because, for example, you cannot properly warm the JVM in such environment.
Mm-hmm.
There is sharing between the individual Lambda calls, so there is small amount of reusability, let's call it, not guaranteed, obviously. But after a couple of requests, you will have a new fresh JVM. So everything like JIT, warming up the caches or something else provided by JVM is just a additional obstacle and not, it's not properly used and utilized there.
Yeah, I've seen many complaints about Java, and like Python is much faster than Java.
Python is the fastest, actually. So basically, it's the fastest possible way of starting up. It's even faster than Node.js. Java, for example, there's a benchmark for guys that are providing the Golang shim, so ability to run Go in AWS Lambda, and they did the benchmarks, and for the cold start, Java can take, for example, 3-4 seconds. A warm-up.
Which is maybe acceptable if you process some SMS messages, but it's not the case for HTTP requests.
Are there any disadvantages of using Python? Because if it's faster, why the Node.js is preferred?
Talk with Pavel and support for Python.
Yeah, it's because it's the most popular thing right now, I believe. Like all cool kids and new generation is using it. The old complaining guys or Python guys, 2.7 command that they were piecing in the cribs at that time. I think it's a popularity contest.
Yeah, but did you experience any, obstacles when using Python?
Python together with IPA gateway. For example, exception mapping is weird. It works well with Node.js, but with Python, to notify to pass something, maybe I will talk about it later when I introduce API gateway. I'll show you the flow, and then I will say why Python sucks there. Even I have a sample of my code.
Guys, we're running out of time. Are you okay to stay a little bit longer?
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so that's how it looks in the UI. You can edit it inline or upload zip file. Or this one from S3. So this is Node.js version. Yeah, sad things that make me sad about Lambda. Like I said, the debugging is not easy, except print debugging. No way to SSH, but maybe that's the good thing. No influence about runtime version. You're limited to what you get there. No way to update it somehow. I don't know how, or is it possible to run Erlang or any other languages there? Do you know, Wojtek, how the Go people do that?
Yeah, that's actually the most embarrassing thing for the Go people, because in order to work with Go shim, this Golang shim, they needed to spawn up a Node.js process that executes the Go executable. So that's the most embarrassing thing for a Go programmer to do. They need to run Node in order to run Go.
Go Node. And in case of Python,
It's also called Go Nuts shim.
Going back for a minute to Python, it's not clear in Lambda what libraries are available there. So, for example, the AWS bot free, am I right? It's there, but any other library you need to bundle with your Lambda and upload there. Like I use pblocker instance to put the whole module inside my directory, zip it and push it. So it's like it might be a bit annoying too. But on the other hand, you have control of the version of your dependencies easy. But there's no package manager to do it for you.
Is there a way, for example, to integrate with Git? So, like I'm doing a commit in my Python repository, and it automatically, updates lambdas. Is that supported or?
Not at all. So basically,
not out of the box, but you can create a Lambda function that will give even to update another Lambda function.
the desired workflow is to upload code to S3. And by code, I mean the zip files, properly structured zip files.
And you still need to ping it, right? It's not like when you upload, it's not automatically.
Yes, and there are also things like packaging that you are able, for example, to build a package with the AWS CLI locally, upload it to S3, and then it automatically pings via API Lambda to update. However, if you are providing zip files and uploading them manually to S3, you need to then ping the Lambda to pick up the newest version.
No, just call it Lambda update function. There is a source file. Either you upload it or take from S3.
Second question: Can Lambda spawn another Lambda? Like, can Lambda
trigger on run? Yes. Maybe not directly. Yeah, through API call.
It's totally possible.
Yeah.
So I could pass on the computation, I'm detecting that I'm running out of 300 seconds, so I'm just
that's advised way to do that. But you pay extra for another Lambda. You're not abusing it. So this is another request, and you double pay it. API gateway. I would call it HTTP interface as a service. You define the routes and everything there. You can click it. You can use Swagger templates. And for me, it does boring stuff for you. You have out-of-the-box authorization, certificates, throttling, even throttling per user. Like you want to resell your API to other parties, and you can. This guy gets 1K requests quota.
That's awesome.
Yeah. ACL, version control, you can have many concurrent version running of your API. Metering and monitoring included, seamless integration with CloudWatch. And you can see how many requests, what URLs, etc., etc. And this, of course, is kind of coarse, but one more thing is also awesome. I tested it. It generates client libraries. You click, you want a JS library that calls your API. It builds, it just builds a library for you to use.
So it might be built on top of Swagger, because it also does similar things.
Yeah.
As far as I know, you can integrate existing Swagger templates and build on top of that API gateway integration.
You upload Swagger template and you got it. And here I tested JS. It was not based on Swagger. When you download the client, it's not Swagger, it was APG or something like this. But they advertise they also generate iOS and Android and Java SDK. So you click your API and don't care about this boring stuff like authorization or certificates. You just pin certificate and that's it. And I use it for my contact form, just to connect API gateway to my Lambda. No restrictions, no authorizations there, but yeah, you cannot call, even if you create a Lambda, it generates API, simple microservice in API gateway to call it via HTTP. So all in all, it's handled in that way.
And I guess if you need identity management, there is something called Cognito, which is kind of another service on top of AWS, and it can actually cover, for example, an SQS or API gateway with mobile authentication and so on, with client authentication actually.
Okay. Something better.
How cannot switch the slide? I mean, like he's changing the slides, but the Google Hands or Hangout or mouse. Stop sharing, screen sharing and do it again.
Wykopało mi. Okay.
Ready? But you're not shy.
Really?
Nothing at all. Maybe you can pass me the link or presentation. Just give it one more try.
Stop sharing. Okay, my face is working or not?
Nope. Oh yeah, now it's working. What will the future like? Which Wi-Fi you're connected to?
Good question.
5G, 5G, 5G. I recommend for everybody to just like remove the anti-scale Wi-Fi from your preferences because it just doesn't work. Period. Yeah, you're in.
Sebastian is doing something nasty, for sure.
And I can right now present everyone.
He's not here, so.
You're live.
Okay. Let's try the link. You can be my Corina and change slides for me.
Thank you. I mean, the internet is very, very slow in here. It must be the signal. Hold on with us, guys.
I have a stable connection.
It's snow covered though.
No, czemu jest to 12?
No.
Whoa.
It's weird.
Maybe Google has an outage.
Okay, guys, so I'll be sharing presentation. So we need to make myself presenter. Which is done by Google. And share the screen. Share it. Okay, we're back on track.
So yeah, as we said, yeah, it was okay. Yeah, we can import Swagger definitions or like export them. Fun fact is you can monetize your API. You can sell it. You can, I know, like Amis, you can make it public and sell usage plans for your API call. So if you have ideas to reuse SQS pipeline or something like this, you can do it and sell it.
This is something cool, like if we were creating, for example, some kind of like, I don't know, creative pipeline or like some kind of way of analyzing some requests, or just do it with the API gateway and Lambdas, and then just give it an endpoint and we're ready to go.
And we implement the meat. We don't care about access keys and secret keys. It's out of the box. One extra paid thing is results caching. You can cache some of the responses. No need to call Lambda every time, for example, if you know it's referential transparent. It's a bit more expensive, like $3 per million, but still it's cheap, in my opinion.
But so $3 are for this caching or without caching?
Caching is without caching, but if you do a request and it's cached, you pay for it as it would be a normal request. There's no discount for caching, it's only for you. Maybe discounts don't pay for Lambda call.
How do you control caching? By just e-tags and all the HTTP stuff, or?
To be honest, I don't know. Like I read it from FAQ, but yeah, I guess it's like option somewhere, checkbox or headers. Headers. Not sure about just making this out.
It's even cooler.
Not sure about these headers, but you need to explicitly say somehow that you should cache it.
Because I'm seeing this as like when we're doing something with scale, and then thinking that we have to cache some kind of results. Are we using CDN, memcache, membase? You're thinking about creating this database, and here you
just click it.
You just click it, yeah.
Not sure how much does it cost.
This might just use the HTTP default mechanism
Mm-hmm.
with headers. Doesn't fancy.
I will double check it.
Cache.
I will check it and update the slide. Static website hosting. Quickly, you can serve HTTP traffic or redirect HTTP traffic to S3 bucket to serve static content. So the files directly or even the website. In S3, you have an option to click serve it as a static website. You can even attach your domain name there. There's one gotcha, the bucket name has to be equal to your domain name. I don't know why, but without this, it didn't work. And I was looking for it for 2 hours. Why not? What the fuck? And here we also pay for requests and data transfer. We can speed up things with CloudFront, but that's the separate topic. Or, yeah.
Funny thing with those redirect, you can also put S3 to point to the ELB, etc.
Yeah. For instance, you have applisk.io on the server content and create www.applisk.io bucket, which only just redirects to applisk without www. Or to any other service that
Everything that can
This is a resource in the AWS.
Mhm.
Can be pointed. You can put it there.
So it can be quite, maybe not complicated, but not so simple things using it. So my blog website it's all static content using S3, Jekyll generated blog. I use Bitbucket's code pipelines, if I remember the name correctly, to deploy it. There is AWS SDK available, so on every successful build, I just replace content of S3. And the dynamic thing was a contact form, as I mentioned. I use SNS because SDS is not available in Frankfurt, and I'm too lazy to migrate to Ireland. And that's how my endpoint looks like. On the left, we can see just routes of your API. I have only one message that accesses the post method. Then we have methods request and response. There is a way in API gateway to parse it to common format. Like we either accept JSON, XML, or the format. And using these steps, you can translate it to your direct or to your common representation that then goes to Lambda. And the second column is integration column, request and response. These are mentioned to translate this common format to Lambda format and vice versa. So from Lambda, I get an exception and I map it to HTTP status, for example. Here we have only 200, but there is a combo box. I map the other exception to redirect. So like a two-step translation layer. And here I have a Lambda integration, but this might be a SNS integration or something else. No need to be a Lambda. You can see a type Lambda there. Good thing that you can click test and see how it works. No need to create a template in Postman or Carol. Just click test and you have it. And it's on staging, so it's not public yet, and you can test it before making it public. But to be honest, I didn't play with something else than Lambda. So I've seen that you can put a mock there, so generate particular responses or other HTTP endpoint. That's how my Lambda looks like. The entry point is Lambda handler, the event and details about it. Like here I have a map representation, so captcha and email and validate captcha and I send a notification. And notification is using Boto-free client. One thing that you need to, of course, attach correctables to your Lambda function, both to send SNS notification and to be able to send logs to CloudWatch. So, and there's funny thing with exception. You can see redirect exception. The only way to force API gateway to return different than default response, like different than 200, you need to use exception. There's no way to control this flow by return value. You need to use exception. That's weird. And in case of Python, you can only match on, there's match on two things, on exception type and exception body. And you put a regex there. In Node.js, it works okay because you just match exception type and use the body as a content. And in Python, it's the other way around. Like exception type in my case is the thing that I have embodied. This URL is my exception type. Or something is. So I cannot map on redirect because I know they did something. It's fact.
So you can return the instance of the redirect class.
I can, but I can't match on it because on API gateway side, I think the lab would be better to show this. In Node.js, you match on exception type and then use exception body to, I don't know, to control how to react or even to return this value. Here, you cannot match on exception type because they are switched. Exception type, there's something like exception type maps to Python exception body. I don't know, they messed something like, and it makes life more hard.
Is there any way to test locally if you develop it, or you have to deploy the code all the time to the AWS?
I haven't seen the way. Maybe if you use Swagger, you can create a
There is this thing called serverless, which is a mistake because it's a serverless framework that describes serverless programming. It provides some local facilities to test those lambdas locally. So it actually is able to simulate SNS events and so on and so on.
Yeah, but still you have API gateway to simulate somehow this translation thing.
Why you want to do this? Like if it's so cheap to play it with online, why you would simulate it on the road?
It's quicker.
It's quicker.
Well,
Much quicker and
upload the code every time you change.
Deploy, make a new version.
So this is a problem.
There is a hassle, some kind of hassle. So,
and the same goes with unit testing, for example, or any kind of integration testing actually. So it's much quicker to have tests locally than upload it and then invoke some tests on top of the API gateway.
I can see that.
They don't provide any official tools to simulate those events and contexts or something like that.
I haven't seen, but maybe there are. I was okay with online testing. It's so simple for now. But we can do a lab and see what we got there. I think that's it. Yeah. I found a nice picture to close my presentation.
Why anarchy?
I don't know.
Standards for
Also wonder why it looks cool.
this is actually pretty inspiring for me, and I must say that building blocks are really to focus not on the infrastructure, but it's actually solving the problem. And the prototyping of the new product is again way more simpler.
And additional, in case of CloudGo, they also use this elastic transcoder. I don't know the correct name, but the service will be used. Yeah, so no need to do anything. Just upload video, it's converted to every device.
Yeah.
But you won't believe, but there are actually people that are understanding serverless, like no server, no ops, and so on. So I think that this serverless name is, this will come back and bite us, like in the case like DevOps or any other.
So you think this will be a new cool thing that will be abused by somehow?
It's already abused, in my opinion.
It's like REST API.
Yeah, exactly.
99% of it is not REST.
Or like the backend as a service technologies. Everything is right now a backend as a service technology.
Okay. Well, I can see that if you try to write like an Eagle One application in the Lambdas and serverless, that will be pain in the ass, I guess. But for like the product base, I mean, it's very powerful.
That's actually a very good question. So, speaking of UI, I would say that we can purely based on the serverless, like S3 website hosting and so on and so on. In terms of API, well, that's actually a tricky thing and tricky use case.
The one thing I see when you have a Rails application or something, you generate routes, you can easily test it locally. Here you need to do this whole machinery to be able to create these entries on the API gateway side, as well as many lambdas and connect, build them together. You cannot use existing frameworks so easily, because to be honest, for every route you need to separate Lambda function to make it clean, and it's spread everywhere.
For me, it's totally different paradigm than whatever we are used to. Like dividing the application into really small independent blocks that can be enclosed as lambdas.
Microservices?
You know, it's even beyond that, I think. Because like in microservices, you are making dependencies between the microservices, right? Like some services depend on each other. Everybody is talking to each other, right? But here you're just trying to, like, at least it looks like for me that the best way would be, you know, that each lambda is totally independent from each other and serves totally different purpose. So your role is to actually divide all the business logic into like very small independent.
Like a controller.
So you said you can trigger other lambdas from one lambda, but can you actually pass the event and context from API gateway to the other lambdas so the other lambda responds to that? Can you make a chain of lambdas and the last one to respond?
Yeah, I think Alec is asking if I use one lambda, pass it down, if the response needs to go back to the first lambda and return to API gateway.
Oh, I see.
Is there any way to do that? So you receive a API gateway event, and this event really waits for the response, but you just push it through 5 other lambdas and the last lambda responds to that event? Is it possible?
I believe it is, but yeah, still the first lambda needs to be alive.
It needs to be alive still.
That's how I understand it. I didn't see any delayed response, like you push a request, pull, and then somebody else responds. But
that would be actually cool if API gateway could wait, like you know, with a long polling, right, for all the
maybe it's good thing to check. Maybe use SQS integration and it works.
Exactly. Can API gateway, you know, return the value only when, you know, like appropriate message on the queue arrives or something?
There is no need for, or depends actually, but you can actually expose SQS directly. There is no need for covering with API gateway.
Oh yeah, actually, we have authorization and throttling. That's the value added.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
But maybe there's integration between the API gateway and SQS.
There is, but I don't know how it works.
That might be a missing piece for us. Because then Lambda can be, you know, invoked by SQS, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, I think.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how it responds. Maybe it returns immediately.
Yeah, I'm wondering how does it look like from the point of view of the single HTTP request. If it's returned at the same time you leave the first lambda, no matter if you spawn 5 other lambdas or not, or maybe you can just pass this even to other ones.
Maybe you can also return ID of your message that you put in the queue, and then there's another code to check it.
That's a workaround, right?
Yeah.
You have to check it once again if it's done, or pin the SQS or SMS.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that in that fashion that if you are receiving an API gateway event, it receives this GUID, and then you can pass it down through chain of lambdas even, and until you are passing the same event and returning response for that event.
Maybe I don't know.
Because from the Lambda perspective, it looks like this. So if I'm spawning a new SNS event, it receives a GUID, And until my Lambda does not answer, this request is ongoing. And I suppose that if you are invoking from Lambda another Lambda, then you are extending the life of that particular request until you return.
Yeah. There's also a question if API gateways have timeout.
Yeah, that's true actually. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah, but
let's not dwell on, into this. I think we can check later.
yeah, we need to check instead of
Trying to.
making PhD on this, how it could work.
Yeah, well, no, that was a very interesting conversation. I'm totally excited for actually the serverless thing. Okay, way has the time. So sorry about that, guys, but I think it was worth it. Any final comments, quick questions, summaries?
No, I also like it. It took away a lot of painful work from with this block. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really, really interesting. Okay, guys, so
And I will create a blog post of steps how to in my own blog how to do it with all the pitfalls and then improvements.
is even more exciting for me then.
But you have to wait. It's still in progress.
Okay, thank you guys. Tomorrow we will have Alec and Peter, SQS, SNS, CloudWatch, and Dynamo. Thanks for coming. Talk to you later.
Thanks guys for the presentation. Goodbye.